It's Fisher Capital TV, Alexander Spellane, CEO of Fisher Capital, and again, we have an amazing guest. This is Kevin Freeman, author of a new book. It's called Pirate Money. It's a book that Charlie Kirk personally endorses, and I'm actually really excited about this. Kevin, thanks for being here. Tell us about your book and how you got involved with Turning Point USA.
Well, thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here. I first met Charlie Kirk years and years ago. We were both speaking at Liberty University at the convocation. And so I met him there, talked to him there. Many of my good friends have been sponsors, like Foster Freeze and Dick Uline. And so I go back watching Charlie's career. It's just astronomical. I'm here with Patriot Mobile, and I did a book signing at their booth. And Patriot Mobile is big fans of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, they are. I'm actually supposed to go to a dinner with them tonight. You know, I love what they're doing. I know I saw the endorsement in your book with them too, with the book signing. It's really cool. I love seeing a Christian telecommunications company. There's no other company doing that. So what I love about this event is being able to connect with people who operate in a niche. It's in the spirit of entrepreneurship, and it's actually something that I really want to see for the younger generations, and see more and more young people liberate themselves from just being trapped in the system. So talk about what they can do to liberate themselves from the current financial system, and what conservatives can also do to really stop making purchases that are funding the left woke agenda.
Well, I'll pull out of my wallet here, and this is a Federal Reserve note, as you know, $100 bill. This is what most people think money is.
Yes.
What they don't realize is the term dollar isn't an American term. It existed at the founding of this nation, and it was a specific term referencing a Spanish milled dollar, which is also known as a piece of 8, also known as a peso, which is 0.77 ounces, troy ounces of fine silver. And our founders said, we don't want bills of credit like this. What we want is gold and silver coin, Article 1, Section 10, and what they were referencing were Spanish milled dollars and gold doubloons. And a gold doubloon, as you know, it was the standard of money. They never intended for us to have this paper money that's backed by nothing.
It is interesting because a lot of my clients, as an owner of a gold company, I hear this often, they're very concerned about the paper money losing a significant amount of value with the reckless spending, with federal debt, consumer debt, and corporate debt at all-time highs. What do you foresee for the future, and what's the worst case scenario?
Well, this piece of paper in 1971, when Richard Nixon ended the last little hanging on of the gold standard, we'd already confiscated gold as a nation, and last little hanging on. From that day till today, this has lost 87.5% of its purchasing power. That means that what cost 12 cents or 10 cents in 1971 costs over $1 today on average. And I was a kid, and I earned $1.60 an hour cutting my parents' lawn, and it would buy me a shake, cheeseburger, and fries at McDonald's, a Spider-Man comic book, a Slurpee, and a Hershey bar, and I'd have enough money left for my tithe. Today, that costs about $15. So the
really big difference.
The point
there.
being, what we see ahead is we have $34 trillion in debt. It is escalating interest only at $1 trillion a year, and will soon be $2 trillion. This, unfortunately, is going to devalue even further as we go forward. The answer is to go back to what the founders said, which is gold and silver. And that's what you do at Fisher Capital, right? You help people.
That's exactly right.
And I don't see that as an investment. I see that as money. That is real money. Like, I'm not wearing a suit, but a fine man's suit 100 years ago would cost less than an ounce of gold. Today it costs less than an ounce of gold. If you bought in 1923, 100 years ago, you could buy gasoline, 5 gallons of gasoline, for 10 dimes, silver dimes. You can still do that today because the value of a silver dime pre-1964 is still sufficient. That's worth $25 if you have 10 of those, and you can buy 5 gallons of gasoline just about in any state in America. So gold and silver preserve their value. Paper money does not. It's historically proven. I don't mean over the next 10 minutes, and I don't mean over the next 30 days or the next 2 years maybe even. But I know over the long term, historically, real money will preserve purchasing power in a way that paper money never can.
That's really interesting you say that. I have the same amount of confidence, and actually I'm very optimistic of that. I want to talk about your book for a second. There's a few different themes here. Pirate money, and it says discovering the founder's hidden plan for economic justice and defeating the Great Reset. So tell us, what is the Great Reset? It's defined a few different ways by a few different figures. In fact, I have a friend that wrote a book called The Great Reset before Glenn Beck did.
Yep.
I've also seen Glenn Beck's book, The Great Reset, and I've read bits and pieces of it. I've heard him take excerpts of it out of it from it on his show.
Right.
You're a part of BlazeTV. So how, there's a few different messages to take away here. So tell us about the book and really what the core of the message is and what you want people to take away from this.
Well, what I think is going to happen that causes the Great Reset is our financial system is going to get in such dire circumstances that the World Economic Forum is going to come in and say, we'll fix it all for you. But you're going to have to give up ownership of things. So you'll own nothing. And, you know, by 2030, you'll be happy. You will have no control over where you drive, where you live, your food. I believe Michael Rectenwald wrote another good book on the Great Reset. Justin Haskins and Glenn Beck wrote a really good book. I look forward to reading your friend's book. But I believe that the Great Reset is the debt will get so bad that they'll come in and say, we can fix this, but you're going to have to put us in charge of everything. You know, COVID gets bad, so we can fix this, but you put us in charge of everything. I believe it is a power grab by elitists. I wrote a book called According to Plan that talked about the power grab by elitists that want to take our money away. They want to take our freedom away. They want to confine us into 15-minute cities. And then they want to convince us it's for our own good.
Absolutely. So talk about how does owning gold empower conservatives, and really how does that help people take control of their finances?
Well, what's coming is central bank digital currency, where it won't even be this. This, you can have something physical. It's got a number on it, but they can't track this. As soon as you take a central bank digital currency, they'll be able to track it and turn it on and off at will. It will literally be owned by the central bank, and you'll have a use license to use it, kind of like you do with Microsoft software or PayPal. You have a use license. PayPal said they'll just take the money away. They can't take your gold and silver away, particularly if you follow the pirate money formula, where it can be held by a state that has a sovereign right to hold it, and you can transact business in it.
Absolutely. So you've got this book that's come out, which is obviously doing very well, but you have an even more successful show, and that's where a lot of people recognize you from, on BlazeTV. Tell us the mission of the show, what your audience is mainly concerned about, and how you are helping navigate what's coming for your audience specifically.
Well, we are a solutions to action show. I hate talking heads. Here's a problem, here's a problem, here's a problem. Every time we have a problem, we bring a solution. And when we bring a solution, we write it up with an action plan and step-by-steps, here's what you do about it. This is one of our action plans that's really been fleshed out. We have a solution for the border crisis, which is an economic issue. We have a solution for food, which is an economic issue. We have a solution for bad entertainment, woke entertainment, another economic issue. So we come up with all of these solutions. Google, how do you beat Google? We have a solution. Economic War Room is designed to help educate people so they can weaponize their money, their giving, their spending, and their investing to preserve liberty, security, and values. And then we walk through with the best guests in America, whether it's Dr. Ben Carson, who is a featured speaker here, is a dear friend, or Glenn Beck we've mentioned, or out of America, Nigel Farage was a guest talking about Brexit. And we have plans for how individuals with their money can take back America. Because the problem is that we'll vote, but then we'll spend money on Chinese goods, and then we'll give our money to woke institutions like Harvard, and then we'll invest in ESG instead of in protecting American liberty.
That kind of ties into my message that I've shared with Turning Point, which is really the value and importance of voting with your wallet.
Yes. That's it.
So what do you think conservatives need to do in order to stop making everyday purchases that fund the left woke agenda?
Well, you can see a walk around here. We walk past Public Square, and they're an alternative to Amazon. And there's Red Balloon that's in there. It is us coming together, making gold and silver as real money, like you're helping people do, so they can preserve wealth. Finding companies like Patriot Mobile that you can spend your money with. Finding good investment alternatives. Like it could be Fisher Capital. The goal is to create a parallel economy where we can operate and not be under the thumb of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or ESG. And those are death knell to liberty. They're intended as that.
Oh, yeah.
But by voting with our wallets, that's what you said. Giving, spending, and investing are the only three ways you can vote with your wallet. You can give it away, spend it, or you can invest it.
That's right.
Or find Christian or conservative alternatives that won't mess with your values, won't try and destroy your values with your money.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you have aligned with that message, just because I think that naturally all the big companies that you can invest in, let's say the S&P 500, a lot of them have become woke. A lot of the banking institutions that maintain custody of client funds are also woke. So they're kind of getting hit twice on the investment side, right? They're getting hit by the institution that is against them or isn't rigging it in their favor. They're getting hit by the investments themselves and the companies that profit off of them investing. But then let's talk about how people are giving. I don't see as many people giving as I'd like to, which is why I'm really happy that Turning Point's done a good job integrating the faith aspect into this message, which isn't something we've seen a lot of the conservative speakers do in the past decade. I see a new movement of speakers integrating faith into their message, and I think that's so important. Do you rely on faith in any capacity with your message to your viewers? And what do you encourage? Because I know all the people you work with, and I know a lot of your friends. So tell us about how your audience is really receiving that message.
Well, we get a lot of positive comments about it. I work closely with Paul Blair of Liberty Pastors, and Paul Blair was helped by Charlie to get started. Turning Point Faith has helped Liberty Pastors. So we'll travel around the country and we'll speak to pastors. A lot of Baptist pastors and former Methodist pastors and Presbyterian and Episcopal, a lot of the mainstream denominations and independent churches, and we help them talk to their congregation. Oh, I'll go into a congregation, talk about the economic war of the heart, and the answer there is to tell your congregation that your financial advisor is on the front lines fighting for you, so you ought to treat them almost as if they're the veteran that fought a war, because we're in an economic war today, and the only way we'll win it is if the churches stand up. Now, you weaponize your giving. Don't give to these places that take your money. I mean, Harvard, who would give to Harvard now when we know that they're allowing hate speech to do genocide? Or the president of Harvard, who is absolutely plagiarized my friend Carol Swain and others. So find places to give and say, I'm going to give my money, but you've got to align with these values.
Yes, I see the importance of that. I'm confident that now that message is being pushed, and I know this simply because it's just impact-based results, right? If we look at how a lot of students up until Turning Point USA has empowered them to do so, have been afraid of the backlash that comes with speaking the truth and with standing up against some of these agendas. I talked to Brandon Tatum, and he talked about this too, that the churches have an obligation and a responsibility that they need to, it was actually Eric Metaxas who said this, excuse me, not Brandon, a few interviews I've done today.
Yeah.
Eric Metaxas says, and it was again in his book, The Letter to the American Church, that the churches are not, they're in a position where people are already mobilized, but they're not telling them how to take action, and they don't want to get politically involved. It's not about being on the left or on the right. It's just about the truth and what's right and what's wrong. And it's about what's morally correct and really what God would want you to do and what Jesus would want you to do, right? So
well, Jesus said, speak the truth in love. He didn't say it, but the Holy Spirit wrote it in the book of Ephesians, speaking the truth in love. And that's the key. How can you love someone when you're lying to them about the truth? when you're telling
Yeah.
them this is real money, but it's going to lose value, that you should make this what's important to you, or you're telling a boy that you should be a girl, or a girl you should be a boy. How do you deal with that? The church has a responsibility. I'll tell you what, if you talk to a 6-year-old and you say you can be anything you want to be when you grow up, that's a nice message. It may not be loving, though, when we say, hey, look, let's find your gifts, your talents, your abilities, and let's help you maximize who you are. But don't think that you're going to make a fortune and a living off of being a gender study major.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually inspired a question. So when you talked about how people are lying saying this is real money and trying to convince you this is real money, one of the main challenges that my clients have who are already invested in traditional assets is that if they're with a financial advisor or a money manager who they've been with a long time and trust, why is it that the money managers do not want to see these guys and see these clients diversify into gold?
Well,
and why would they not want them to take 10% of their money and do that? Have you noticed that?
I have, and I'll tell you, you walk into a traditional brokerage firm and you say, I'm scared about this and this and this, I'd like at least 10% in gold, they will talk you out of it.
Why do they do that?
I'll tell you, they do it because they make more money on selling the products that they have. My father was in the financial advisory business. He knew one thing. He just passed away. He retired at age 87, and he said, my customer is my boss, and therefore I will serve the customer. That's the old way of thinking. We started an institution called the National Security Investment Consultant Institute, NSIC.org. We train financial advisors to worry and look at the things their clients are worried about. What if there's an electromagnetic pulse? Then how good will your digital currency be?
Yeah.
What if there is a serious upheaval in China and what it cuts off your ability to manufacture these things? We help them understand the risks and meet the client needs and help the clients. And of course, John Templeton loved putting a certain percentage in gold. Of course, it makes sense. It's the old line Wall Street advice.
One of the most important things I think you're doing right now, and I just recently learned this about you, but you've got a program where people can actually buy physical gold and put that on a debit card and use that as payment. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have legislation in 20 states that are being entered where the state will be the depository and they will issue forth a debit card like this one, and you can go spend. And I've done it. Glent, there's a company called Glent that does this now, but it's Switzerland. Yeah, it's in Switzerland, and I've
seen the one in Switzerland.
I don't want my gold in Switzerland. I want my gold where I can access it. The importance of having physical gold and access to physical gold in your home is tantamount. You've got to have access to physical gold. This is another way to make gold transactional and spendable. So that's what the book Pirate Money is about. It explains it. It has the model legislation. It's been endorsed by the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. I've featured this at State Financial Officers Foundation, at David Barton's Pro-Family Legislator Conference, at the National Legal Forum Conference, and they all love it. 20 states are adopting legislation to make it possible for you to put your gold on deposit with the state and spend it with a debit card.
That's really incredible. So I'm with you. I wouldn't want the gold in Switzerland. I know about that program too. Obviously, the World Economic Forum is held in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do we really want our life savings or our
And it could
deposits?
be confiscated, or the federal government could say it is not. That's why I want it in my state, or at least in the United States.
Absolutely. So talk about the differences between having an account that allows you to spend your gold and why it's also important to hold physical gold and silver in your possession at home or in a core position within a retirement account per se.
Yeah, well, if it's transactional, there's something really cool that happens. The IRS taxes gold as a collectible, which is ridiculous because it's money. But it's taxed the same way as a Beanie Baby outside the IRA. IRA is great because you don't have to worry about the taxes, the gold goes up in value. But if I bought gold at $35 an ounce in 1971 and held it today, what is it today? Over 2,000, right? And I sell it, I owe a piece of that to the IRS. But if it's transactional gold and legal tender under the IRS code and the Constitution and the laws of the United States, they can't tax it. It's functional money because you can pay your employees in it, you can spend it, you can get paid in it, you can pay your mortgage with it, you can buy a stick of gum with it, with the program we've outlined here. So if your supporters and your viewers would
That's pretty incredible,
this,
I gotta say.
we will wipe out. It's all in the book. It would be called functional money, and the IRS says if it's functional money and it is legal tender, it is not subject to capital gains taxation, which the way they're taxing gold now is stupid. It is not a beanie baby. It is not a collectible
Why
item.
do you think they tax it as a collectible outside the IRA? Because inside of an IRA, they'll go based off the spot price, and you're not supposed to necessarily hold collectibles within an IRA account, but why is it that outside of an IRA, it is categorized that way?
I think it's because they don't want to give it the benefit of capital appreciation that you would get, for example, for long-term holdings in the stock market. I think it is the federal government disadvantaging gold owners. And we got to fix it, and this book is the way to fix it.
That's really incredible. So what do you think we need to do to be able to support that movement? And what can conservatives do to make this a quicker reality? And really, I think that's an amazing strategy. It solves a lot of problems, right? Solves a lot of problems. My clients particularly are concerned about this dollar losing its status as a world reserve currency. And what I do know is by owning gold, you can eliminate some of your third party and counterparty risks because you're not coupled with the nation's debt. You're not attached to a central bank. So therefore, you actually have true ownership and you have taken control back of your finances. So what can people do to support that and help with the process of getting this recognized and in a position where it can be utilized readily to the American people?
Well, the first step would be to read the book, Pirate Money. Go to Amazon, write a review so more people pay attention to it.
Yes.
Watch Economic War Room. The current episode is on the 18 states that are advancing legislation. We've added 2 more since I filmed that. And the third thing, they can go to transactionalgold.com and they can look for their state. And then there's petitions and flyers that they can hand out to state legislators, say, get this passed in our state. So transactionalgold.com. And if you're not a Blaze subscriber, you can watch our program free at economicwarroom.com. Every episode is free. You can sign up for our weekly battle plans. There's a place up in the upper right-hand corner to where we'll send you 1 email a week to talk about what the current show is and what you ought to be doing about it. So economicwarroom.com for the show, transactionalgold.com for the state-based pirate money.
Amazing. Final question. 2023 is coming to an end. We're December 19th here. Or is it the 18th? This event's just flying by.
The 18th.
The 18th, that's right. So December 18th, we're closing the year out. You tell me, how has 2023 been for you and everything that you're doing? And how's 2024 going to be different? And what should we be excited for? And what are we optimistic about?
Well, in 2023, we put legislation in Texas at the state level, and it almost passed. And we were so disheartened when the legislator, they impeached Ken Paxton, and then they stopped the work of the legislature. So it was a disheartening thing. But then I wrote this book, and I started to get calls from legislators in Alaska, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota, Florida, 20 states now, Tennessee. And they said, we're going to do it in our state. I think 24 is our breakout time. I think we're going to take ground, whether it's in politics or whether it's in money or whether it's in culture. I talked to some of the people with the Angel Studios that were here and what they're doing with Angel Studios. Every area of life, we're going to go on the offensive. We have been on defense all the way through most of my life. We're going on offense, and 24 is our year to take back America.
Amazing. Kevin, you're doing a lot of really incredible things and a lot of things that a lot of people have not thought of so far. You're a true entrepreneur. and true visionary, and I really respect that and appreciate that. Happy to have you
Thank
on
you,
here,
Alexander.
and thanks for visiting.
Thank you.